Hi, I'm Jordan from Kettner Creative. In this video, we're going to show you how to set up a podcast with the Yamaha MG10XU audio mixing console. Now for this podcast, we're going to make a couple assumptions here. We're going to assume that you have two different guests in the room with you. We're going to assume that you have one guest on the phone that's calling into your podcast, and we're going to assume that you need one extra playback device that you're going to use to play cues or show reference material, something with an audio track that your podcast is going to have some commentary about. We're also going to use the USB output of this Yamaha MG10XU to connect to our MacBook here, and we're going to record the show in Garageband. Now, for the sake of gain setup with this console, we're going to assume that we're live streaming. I'm going to show you what that means, but it is different with how aggressive you are with the gain if you're live streaming or if you're just recording. There are different gain settings that you would use for either situation. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to zero out the board. So it's all plugged in and turned on, already connected to the computer. So we're going to set the stereo output to this triangle or unity position. Even though the stereo output here doesn't have anything to do with the USB output, this operates independently of the USB. The USB gets its output just from the gain and the output level knobs here. But I like to leave that at 0 or unity or that triangle position, just in case. It's just a good rule of thumb. It's just the first place that I usually start with setting up a console. All the other white knobs I'll turn all the way down. All the green and red knobs I'll turn to the 12 o'clock position, and the compression I'll turn down. I noticed a couple of switches here. They have high pass filters turned on already, so I'm going to turn those off. It looks like the board is completely reset now. So the first thing I'm going to connect to this mixer is I'm going to connect our microphones. So plug the orange cable XLR into input 1, the yellow XLR cable into input 2. Now I'm going to grab this orange cable mic. Now on the Yamaha mixer, I find it much easier, and the manual recommends you start with the level. You put it at that triangle position or 0 or unity. That's the best place to start. And then you increase the gain until you get the level that you want on these meters. So as I increase the gain here, like I said, we're going to pretend that we're live streaming. When we're live streaming, we want to get it as close to 0 as we possibly can without ever risking going over. If your meter goes above 0 here, if you hit +6, you will experience clipping and digital distortion that you cannot undo even in post. So you want to be pretty safe of there. So right here, I'm just bouncing off of 6 or -6 there. And that's a pretty good place. Now to secure that position for us, we're going to add a little bit of compression here, just up to that kind of 2/3 position there, and I think that will help. That'll add a little bit of gain, but it'll also reduce the threshold and the compression ratio to help us keep within the limit that we're aiming for. I think that's a great starting point for this microphone. Now our second microphone here is exactly the same as the first. We can just copy paste the settings. We know exactly where we're headed with this. Now for either microphone, for EQ, I like to keep them pretty flat for podcasts. I don't like to mess with it so much. If you do have a lot of guests, it can get kind of muddy, and you may want to turn on this high pass filter. I'll put that on. There's an 80 hertz roll off there just to clean up some of the mud. And we're going to leave the pan. I always leave the pan right in the middle, and we're going to deal with this effects send later on. So I'm going to turn these all down. I realized I just missed those when I struck the board at the very beginning. So I'm going to turn those down now. And we'll come back to those when we go to set up our phone caller. Next, we'll set up our phone caller. So in order to get a phone guest connected to our audio mixer, we're going to use what's called a mix-minus setup. What a mix-minus setup does is it allows us to send the whole mix to our guest on the phone, but we want to minus themselves. If we just send them the whole mix using a stereo output up here, they're going to hear themselves with a half a second, 1 second, maybe 2 second delay depending on the cellular network. And it's either going to create like a reverb effect, an echo, or feedback, or it'll always be just super distracting to the guest that's on the phone. So we don't want them to be able to hear themselves. So I'm going to show you how we do that. My phone here doesn't have a headset output, but I'll use this lightning to headset adapter. What this does is it's different than a headphone jack. A headset adapter will give us 3 different inputs and outputs. It gives us a line in to the phone, and it'll give us a headphone jack out, a stereo left and right out of the phone. So we're going to connect, we have this little adapter here. Now if you want to look up pricing or specs for anything in this video, we have links down below. So what this adapter does is it plugs into that TRRS headset jack there, and it gives us this breakout. So it gives us a true headphone jack here, a stereo headphone jack, and an XLR input that we can feed from the board. So first we're going to deal with the headphone jack from this phone. As with any other headphone jack that we plug into a Yamaha mixer or any other small mixer like this, if we want stereo, we're going to take a headphone jack and convert it to 2 1/4-inch cables. You can see one of these has a red sleeve. Red is always right. So we're going to plug that into 5/6 on the mixer. And then with our little adapter here, we're going to connect this headphone jack to that 1/8-inch cable that we just plugged in. Next, we have an XLR cable here. It's going to be really tempting to plug this into the stereo output of the mixer, but like I said, we don't want to send the stereo output. We want to send the effects send. Now I'll walk through that once we plug this in. So this effects send, we have a balanced 1/4-inch cable here that goes all the way to XLR. So we'll plug that into our phone. Now our phone is fully connected to the audio mixer. So like I said, we want to use this effects send. So in order to do that, we can't use the effects. The effects all need to be turned off. And then this effects send will functionally work as if it was an auxiliary send or a monitor channel. So in order to send a mix minus to the phone, we need to turn all these effects send all the way up to that triangle position there, except 5/6. We don't want to send 5/6 because then it would be going back to itself. Now obviously it's not necessary for you to turn all these up. We only have 2 microphones so far, but I'm just doing it to illustrate that we're sending the whole mix minus 5/6. That's turned down. So now our phone is all ready. We're just going to hit play here. And if we turn up 5/6, we should see that meter moving. So that's great. We know it's working. So far we're just doing this all visually. If you want, you could be monitoring it on your computer or using headphones, but we'll be testing it at the end as well. Next, we're going to plug in one more input, another stereo input. We're going to pretend like we have an iPad or something like that here. We don't have one, but we'll just plug this into 7 and 8. And then plug this into our fictional laptop or iPad that we would use for audio playback. So this is now looking like a pretty typical home podcast setup. We have 2 microphones, we have a phone-in caller, and we have something that we can play music. Maybe we're talking about YouTube videos or something like that coming in through that input there. So now let's look at Garageband, and we'll set up Garageband to make sure that it's recording everything that's going on this mixer. So in Garageband, we'll start a new empty project. It'll detect the mixer here, and you can see that we have a bunch of input choices. We just want to bring in the stereo. We're not multi-tracking here, so we're going to select that. And as we speak into one of the microphones, we can see that that meter is now moving in Garageband. That's exactly what we want. So the reason that we don't multi-track in Garageband is because with this audio console, we have a separate video on how to multi-track record with this audio console, but this audio console can only multi-track 2 inputs. And as you can see here, we have 1, 2, the phone is 3, and this other laptop or whatever we're using here would be 4. So we can't multi-track. We've exceeded the limit for how you could, so we're just going to record the stereo mix. So over in Garageband here, we're just going to hit record. This is our yellow guest speaking. This is our orange guest speaking. And we'll pretend that this music here is our phone-in caller. So you should be able to hear some music there. Oh, I don't have it turned up. There we have some music. That's good. And then we'll just test the other input now as well. Into 7 and 8. plug that, hit play, and now 7 and 8 should be working. There we go. So there you have it. We have everything all set and tested with the mix minus setup. The only thing that we can't test is the two-way with the phone. You just have to take my word for it that it does work as long as you have the same settings as me here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Again, if you want pricing or specs for any of the microphones, cables, or adapters, or anything that you've seen in this video, we have a pile of links down in the description below to help you out. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.